Hey YouTube, how's it going? Welcome back to this channel. It's been a while since I made any videos, and um, it's because I've been busy with court stuff and also busy on trying to figure out what I want to say. It's really easy to you know not. It's hard to not look like the guy who's bashing drugs, but I don't really care to bash drugs. If people want to choose to do drugs, that's their choice. Um, for 13 years, that was my choice, and I honestly didn't see any other way to go about life. Um, so this isn't like a channel to debate about whether drugs are good or bad. It's not a moral issue. It's more or less a an issue for what I always think about is the person who's suffering out there, and the person who's struggling, and the person who's lost all hope, and the person who's in the dark, and they hate their life, and they don't care if they die, because that's exactly the person I was when I was on drugs. And don't get me wrong, there was many good times and many uh, what I many very powerful experiences as far as like feelings. I used to do a lot of psychedelics, and I used to go to raves a lot and do ecstasy. But for one point, my thing was psychedelics. I really liked mushrooms. I liked DMT, and to be honest, to some degree, I thought they actually um, helped. They almost enhanced my life in a way. Um, I kind of wanted to make a video that talks a little bit about psychedelics, in my experience, and you know if they do expand your consciousness. My idea is, uh, if they do expand your consciousness, is your mind and body in a state that it could sustain that, and is in a state that it could handle, interpret, and understand what is taking place. Because a lot of times when you come off of a very powerful psychedelic trip, you feel like you've just seen the other side of the mirror, and you feel like this reality isn't even the real reality. And in one aspect, that's how it is, and that's true. But in another aspect is when you do that to a mind that is still growing and still maturing, and possibly isn't in a state where they're able to handle that kind of information. Sometimes it could what it can do. Well, what it did for me was it took me very off the spectrum, and I got real into spirituality, and I got real into meditation. I got real into um, using psychedelics as a tool to meditate. I would actually just take some mushrooms and I would go into meditation for the entire trip, and then I do my occasional DMT trip. And I came to a lot of experiential experiential perspectives about consciousness, and at the same time, though, when it came to having to interact with the everyday social standard of of socializing, and just talking about basic stuff, I didn't want anything to do with it. And it got to the point where I isolated myself from the normal standard of people's operating. Uh, I isolated myself from that to the point where I didn't care to talk to people. I didn't care to do these normal, these social basic things like going to the bars and going out or whatever. I was on a pursuit, I was on a spiritual pursuit, and it was fueled by psychedelics. It was motivated by psychedelics to some extent. Actually, to a very powerful extent, it was motivated by psychedelics. Um, I was between 17 and 19 when I was experimenting with this, and it got me to a place where my ex girlfriend at the time, she my girlfriend at the time, she's my ex now. She told me, um, she said I remember this very specifically. She said, "Ryan, you're taking your mind to places I can't follow, and I'm worried I'm gonna lose you." And it freaked me out to the point where I said, "All right, well, what do you want to do?" And she said, "Let's hang out with some old friends." Unfortunately, all my old friends were hooked on heroin, and I ended up hanging out with one of my friends. And at the time, I was in the mindset of, I didn't understand what addiction was, so I was in the mindset of, you know, mind can conquer anything over body. And what happened was I experimented with heroin, and then I ended up getting hooked, and then it just progressed and got worse and got worse, and then moved to fentanyl and speed and Xanax, and that was over 13 years. And in between that, methadone, Suboxone, crutches. That for me, I still believe in methadone and Suboxone because anything is better than slamming dope on the streets, but they still come with their limitations as far as what um, you're able to experience out of life with them. So to some degree, they're a good tool to get off of the really bad stuff that could just straight kill you. But they will keep you sedated until you get off of those, and they'll keep you in a limited. They'll keep your faculties in a limited way, where um, you can't expand past that. So if you want to be able to experience life in its fullest, it won't be a possibility. But at the end of the day, I still think it's better than slamming dope on the corner. Um, so, anyways, I wanted to make a video today. I kind of just felt like ranting a little bit. Um, I really don't know what material to put out there, but the main thing that I'm trying to do, if it's even possible, is I'm trying to give people who are newly, and I'm still new. I'm coming up on a year of being clean and sober, and I'm still learning a lot of stuff. And you know, for me, the whole process of getting clean, I could really see why people, to some degree, just say fuck it and go back out, because dealing with your feelings and dealing with other people and trying to understand all the nuances that is taking place within your experience is after you've been away from it for so long on drugs, and then you just cut it off, and all of a sudden it's like when you walk out of the movie theaters walk out of the movie theaters on a sunny day, and you can't even open your eyes, it's so bright you almost want to just like go back in or throw your shades on. So it's a lot like that. Like, the life is extremely bright when you're just, it's extremely bright and loud for that. For me, it's been like that for almost a year, and I was very self-conscious. I was like very worried about what other people are thinking. I was very concerned about how I'm expressing myself to people, and not to step on people's feelings, and not to be dismissive of people's opinions and what they're saying. And to some degree, I'm still like that, but I'm getting to a point in my recovery where I'm starting to want to express my self a little more, and express my how I'm feeling, and the ideas that are in my head. I want to get them out um, to people who will listen, and people who are curious about getting off drugs. So for the person out there who's still struggling, I've made a couple videos about just getting off drugs, getting out the gate, the very first thing you want to do, if you're just fucking fed up with your life, and this isn't a debate for people who are out there saying like, you know, uh, you should do it like this, you should do it like that. There's no perfect way to recover. There's no one way to recover. We all recover just like we all live life individually with our own unique expression. Okay, so sorry that just gets under my skin sometimes when people are talking about you need to do this and you need to do that, and that's okay. I'm really talking to the people who are confused and are questioning every single thing that they're thinking about, and questioning if it's even worth it, and if they can even do it, and if it's even possible. The thing is I was slamming towards the end I was slamming point 0.3 fentanyl, and I matched that with half a gram of speed. And I was slamming that in my neck, and I don't say this because I glorify it. I say this because I had to do that 2 to 3 times a day just to feel something. And along with that, I took 1 to 2 Xanax bars a day. And the thing is, by all means, I should be dead out there. Um, but not only am I not dead, I'm bouncing back, and my mind's bouncing back. So I just want to say it's possible. If you're out there and you feel like you can't do it, and you feel like you won't feel normal again, and that's what's preventing you from trying and wanting it, just know that it is possible. The body does bounce back. Now it's a lot of work to get the mind to bounce back. So you got to take it very easy and don't overwhelm yourself. In NA, there's a lot of big concepts everyone's throwing around, but to the newcomer, those concepts don't mean shit. To the newcomer, they just want to know, what they're gonna do for when they go home. And the thing is that they've got to, if you're new and if you're getting off drugs, you've got to really fight in the sense of how much of this life do you deserve, and you've got to fight for that. You've got to be able to keep every time you get the thought of using in your head, and it slowly creeps into your life, and you start thinking about this and fantasizing about that, and fuck it, why don't I just get out of here? You got to be able to combat it with a more realistic picture of what that choice is, and because that choice, we all know that choice is a dark, empty corner by ourselves where we want to die. That's the choice. If you're able to see that instantly instead of all these other things, at some point your mind will want to start to look in other places for solutions, more realistic solutions. So in the beginning, what I did was I made the decision of my head that I was done, and I didn't want to use anymore. Or at least I didn't look at it as an option anymore. Um, or in another sense, I looked at it as just as much an option as shooting myself in the head, which in my mind, it's an option, but it isn't a practical option for a fulfilled life. So if you could somehow look at it like that, without all the ifs and buts and, well, it's not really like that, I could still use, and I could just get away with it again. That's cool, man. If you're in that stage, you're just bullshitting yourself. And if you're in that stage, honestly, there's nothing I could do about that. But if you're at the point where where you just had enough and you want to do something different, and you're just newly sober or newly getting off drugs, I recommend just taking it easy right now, not trying to accomplish so many things at once and feeling like you're far behind because you wasted your life on drugs and you need to get all this done. The most important thing you could do right now is focus on your health, your mental health, your emotional health, your spiritual health, your physical health. Um, and you got to do things that help that. You got to eat right. You got to drink water properly. You got to um, be very selective on what you're choosing to allow through your senses. So, are you watching a lot of bullshit on TV? Because for me, that echoes through my head throughout the day, and that'll keep the madness rolling to some degree. And you know, just find stuff where you could find a little bit of relief here and there, and start building your tools right now. But above all, I would go to a meeting. I would go to an NA meeting. That's what I did when I got out. I would go to an NA meeting and meet more people who are uh, who are doing this thing, and they've been there and they've done that, and they've got some tips here and there, and collect as much as you can. And if you can't make it to an NA meeting, there's NA meetings online. Um, but if for some reason you have no way of doing any of that, then you know, see, I'm always trying to think what my advice would be. I guess it's not so much as advice as what to do, but just know if you hang in there long enough, um, you'll feel good one day, and you'll be back to normal one day. You'll be happy again. You'll be fulfilled again. Um, it's definitely worth the fight. In fact, sometimes there's no advice. There's no advice that's practical in the sense. When I was detoxing and when I was in rehab, I couldn't get out of bed. A person could tell me all this stuff, but I'd be like, I really don't fucking care, man. Like, I get it. I'm not trying to do drugs anymore. I'm just trying to get through this process. So just get through that process. Anyways, I don't know. I felt like kind of ranting today. Uh, I just want to end this with, you know, drugs have their limitations, and if you want to live a limited life, then the natural consequences of that, there's natural consequences for that. And if you want to live in a limited way, there are naturally there will be roadblocks that you hit where you won't be able to get past them. Um, but if you want to be free, if you want to be free from all the bullshit, if you want to be free from those kinds of limitations that come with doing drugs, um, then hang in there. Hang in there and give yourself a break and take it easy and don't beat yourself up. Um, just make it, one day at a time, and hang in there, and meet a group of people that could help you and guide you, and you're not alone, and um, you're not misunderstood. There's many people out there who understand what you're going through, and who have felt the exact same things you're feeling, and have seen the other side of it. So, keep your head up, and till next time.